Hey guys, we're back with the notes for 5.8. This is the last section of the semester. So 5.8 is all about solving those word problems that we already set up. So you'll notice that when we look at these problems, we're not making the equations. We already did that from 5.7. Okay, so I do want you to just have them set up already. When you go ahead and copy, we're going to copy problems 2, 3, and 4. Please copy them exactly how I have them set up, where they're kind of stacked up and over on the left. Okay? Perfect. Today we are only going to be solving the substitution problems. So anything that's stacked up for elimination, like number 1, we are not looking at that today. All right, let's go ahead and start with problem 2. Substitution, remember, means that you have one letter by itself. In this case, we have D equals. So I'm going to take what D equals and put a box around it. We're going to go ahead and plug that in right here where the D value is. And when I do that, I notice that there's decimals there. So I'm going to take all of these decimals and move them 2 places to the right. So let's look at what that does. That means that we have 10, 6 plus D, we're plugging it in, plus 25Q equals 480. We want to get rid of the decimals because it makes our life a little easier to not have to look at those. So we just move all of them over 2 places. That makes the 10, the 25, and 480. Okay? All right, from here, we're going to go ahead and distribute. 10 times 6 is 60. 10 times D is 10D. Bring the rest down, plus 25Q equals 480. We're going to combine our like terms. That gives us 60 plus 35Q equals 480. Our next step is going to be to cancel off that 60. So if I subtract 60 from both sides, I get 35Q equals 420. Again, there's not a lot of work on here, so if you can fit it in here, we are doing minus 60 minus 60. Okay. All right, so once I get 420, I'm ready to solve the last step. I'm going to go ahead and divide that by 35, and I get my first answer. Q equals 12. But what does Q stand for? Well, 12 stands for quarters. So make sure that you write that down, okay? My second part of my problem is to take that 12 and plug it right back into the box. So if my dimes, let me change colors. If my dimes are 6 plus my quarters, 6 plus 12 gives me that final answer. So my D value would be 18 dimes. And that is what a final answer would look like. Okay, so the black is the setup, the pink is the work, the blue is the second work to get the second variable. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and try number 3. Problem number 3 is actually a little bit easier because D equals Q. So it doesn't really matter who you plug in, but for the sake of consistency, D equals means that we would box this and we plug it in where D is. I'm going to move all of my decimals over 2 spaces. So we're going to have 25Q equals 300 plus 10Q. Now my Q's aren't on the same side, so I am going to need to cancel that. I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides with the Q's. That's going to give me 15Q. Equals 300. Now my last step is to divide by 15, and that means that I have 20. But 20 what? That makes 20 quarters. All right, now I still have to know how many dimes I have, and in this case, we're lucky they are the same. So right next to that, I can go ahead and say the dimes. I have 20 dimes also. You do need the units on these, okay? So don't just say Q equals 12 or D equals 20. I need the units. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to get full points on that, okay? All right, once you have those 2 written down, let's roll to 4. All right, 4 and 5. Problem 4. Again, we have substitution. I'm going to give you a second to write down problems 4 and 5. Pause it if you need more time. On problem 4, our letter that's by itself is going to be the L. So we're going to box L equals D plus 893. We're going to plug that right back in where the L is. I am not going to put it in parentheses because there's a 1 in front of the L. If you want to multiply by 1, that's fine, but it's not changing anything. So I'm just going to put in D plus 893. Then I'm going to bring down my plus D equals 18,717. So again, if you want parentheses here, that's fine. If you want to put a 1 on the outside and multiply it, that's fine, but nothing is changing. Okay, so I'm going to leave it just like this. We're going to combine our like terms. That's 2D plus 893 equals 18,717. So let's go ahead and subtract that. 18,717 minus 893. That's going to give me 2D equals 17,824. Whoops, 824. And my last step would be to divide that by 2. That means my dislikes were 8,912. Remember, we want to make sure we write out what those units are. So I'm going to shrink this just a little bit so that I can fit in here. 8,912 dislikes. Well, if I know that I have that many dislikes and there are 893 more likes, then I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. 8912 plus 893. Give me just a second to put that in a calculator. That means that for my likes, I have 9,805 likes. Please make sure you have your units labeled on that, not just L and D. Okay? All right, take a second, pause it if you need to, write down 4, and we're rolling to 5. On problem 5, we have a variable by itself. We have A equals. So I'm going to box this and put it in where A is. Again, I don't need parentheses because there's no number with the A. So I'm writing out 9 plus 2B, plus B equals 60. This was my box. I still have the B and the 60. So I'm going to combine my like terms. That's 9 plus 3B. Kick out the loner means we're subtracting 9 from both sides, which gives us 51. Anytime I'm going too quickly, feel free to pause it, take more time listening and writing. But we're going to divide by 3 on both sides, which gives us 17. So what does that mean? 17 Bettys? No. It's the amount of money that she has. So Betty has $17. Okay? The next part, I need to figure out how much Ann has. Ann has 9 more than twice Betty's amount. So I'm going to put the 17 in where B was, and we're going to go ahead and type that whole thing straight in a calculator. So 9 plus 34 makes 43, and again, $43. Take a second, pause it if you need to. Go back, rewind, and listen to anything else you need, but we're moving to problem 6. Okay. I believe 6 and 7 are the last 2 questions, so go ahead and pause it, set these 2 up. Perfect. Problem 6 and 7 are both substitution as well because they have a variable by themselves. I'm going to take the L, box it, and I'm going to plug it in where L is. I do need parentheses this time because we have a 2 in front of the L. So 2W plus 2 times 5 plus 2W equals 130. We're going to distribute that 2, which gives us 10 plus 4W equals 130. I do need to combine my W's, which gives me 6 of them, and then I can cancel off my 10. That gives me 6W equals 120, and it divides pretty evenly. My W is going to come out to be 20. But 20 what? 20 whiffs? 20 watermelon? No, 20 centimeters. You need to put your units on that problem, okay? Once I have that part taken care of, let me shrink this down just a little bit. Once I have that part taken care of, I can go back and find my length. My length is 5 more than twice my width. So I'm going to plug 20 in where the W was, back in the box. We know 2 times 20 is 40, plus 5 gives me 45, but make sure it's 45 centimeters. Okay? That is the end of problem 6, and we have one more exactly like it. Okay? Let's go ahead and do number 7 the same way. I have an L equals, so it's substitution. I'm I'm going to box it and plug it in where L is. I do need parentheses because I do have that 2 in front of the L. So 2W plus 2 parenthesis, I'm plugging in 4 plus W, and then equals 80. We're going to go ahead and distribute that 2, which gives us 8 plus 2W. Once we have that distributed, we can combine our like terms to make 4Ws. All right, we are now ready to go ahead and cancel off that 80. So if we subtract 80 from both sides, that gives us 72. And we're going to go ahead and divide it by 4, which gives us 18. Again, remember, 18 is not how many widths you have. Your width is 18 centimeters. Once I have 18, I'm going to go ahead and plug it back over here where the W is. So the length is 4 more than 18. Well, if you want to do that in your head, that's fine, but it's 22. Not 22 lengths, but 22 centimeters. Okay? That is the end of the substitution notes. You should be able to do only the substitution problems on your homework. So anything in the practice that is set up with an L equals or D equals or A equals, anything like that is substitution. Okay, those are the problems that you should be working on. When you're ready for the second half of the notes, go to the elimination one.